Well, welcome to Takeaway Tuesday at Symposium, and we are here today with Dr. Cyr. And Dr. Cyr, welcome. Very, very thrilled that you are here with us today. And we were talking earlier, and you said that you had been working or researching in the field of forensic interviewing for approximately 20 years. So what would you say from when you began 20 years ago to now, what are some changes that you've noted in the field?
I think there is two important changes that coming from research also. One is more a technical one and the other one is more a relational one. So on the technical part, I think we have increased our knowledge about the type of question we use during investigative interview. So we know for a long time that it is better to use very open-ended question like invitation because we get access to the recall memory of the child, and we know that this memory is better if is accurate. So. But what we didn't know, it's about the directive question. So in the recent years, there is some research who show us that directive questions are not all equal. Are not all the same. And some of these present more difficulty to the child capacity and to the child memory because, for example, question that talk about location, where were you? Children are less good to give us description about that than how it's happened or what happened to you. So we know with this research that children are better to talk about action, what happened, than other type of question. So it is not an homogeneous block of question, and we need to take care of some of these questions also when we work with the child. So the how question are more difficult depending on what is attached to that. So how do you feel about him, for example, is probably a more difficult question than how that happened. So and there is some result that indicate that 52% of our questions are around things that are difficult for children. So they are about location, wearing, different type of clothes. And not on the action and not on the gesture. And it is where the child is better to give us information.
So as an interviewer, that what I hear you saying, and please correct me if I get this wrong, that if I'm going into an interview and a child does make the decision to share some information, that if I can concentrate using those narrative encouraging questions as much as possible, but if I have to ask a more specific WH question, that I focus on the actions of what happened to that child, what that child experienced. And they're going to have better memory recall, be able to better answer those questions. And if I start asking more about location or clothing, more what I would say would be a peripheral piece of what happened to them.
Yes.
And that we need to do better. We as interviewers need to be better at exhausting the narrative.
Yes. So we want to work with invitation first, with child words as much as we can. And the other thing that we see in the interview is that the proportion of invitations is not as high as it could be. So it is really I always say it's like learning a new language to learn to be able to use effective invitation also, because if it will have been so easy, we will see a higher number of invitation in an interview, and it is not the case.
That's not the case. So we as a field, as interviewers, I'm not going to say that we're failing, but we could certainly do better. We could ask more of those invitations.
Yes.
Really try to increase the percentage of invitations that we utilize in a forensic interview.
Yes, I think so. And I think the other change that I have seen in the recent year is about the relational aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So we have more study who indicate us that children need more support, non-suggestive support during the interview, as well as reinforcement that is not contingent to specific details that the child give us. So that's allowed the child to, for example, reinforcement to know that he's doing a good job with us, that he inform us and give us the information that we need to understand what happened. So just to say to the child, you working hard to tell me a lot of things, and that helped me. Some of the time during the interview, that makes the child feel competent, and he will be able to do maybe a little bit longer of the interview also. So we want to be more attentive to child, and it's a sign of emotional state of the child, and be careful just to try to not infer this emotional state, but just to support that with more exploration. I see that you are now silent. What happened to you? I could help with that. So I think we will need to include a little bit more supportive intervention during interview to help children to feel more at ease with us and have a better access to their cognitive capacity to inform us.
It's interesting. The idea of social support is somewhat new in the field of forensic interviewing. And yesterday, during your session, you had mentioned that when children put an emotion on the table, so if they say, I'm scared, that as interviewers, we need to say, talk to me more about being scared, and really trying to explore that with the child. And that is a form of the non-suggestive support, but just allowing that child to give us more information.
Yes, it is exactly what we need to do. And I think in the following years, we will see more of these non-suggestive supportive intervention in the protocol, as it is done right now with the NICG revised protocol. So I think it's a new way to take into account that for the child, it's a vulnerable child. It's stressful to be with a stranger. I have to talk about something difficult. We know that before, but we didn't take it into account in the way that we work with the child. We were more focused to having forensic detail.
Yes.
You see, and more focused on being non-suggestive and work on the child capacity. But I think the emotional part of the child have been put a little bit too away. But of course, we need also to be very careful. We don't want to become suggestive with our support. We don't want to become too friendly with the child, too warm, but we could do that staying in a neutral stance, but being attentive and supportive also. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is that as interviewers, we need to strike a balance.
Yes,
we need to strike a balance.
Yeah.
Well, if you had one thing to say to a new interviewer, someone who has just completed what we call a protocol training, whether it was NICHD or NCAC or Corner House or ABSAC, any of the other different trainings, but what one thing would you want to say to a new interviewer?
Yeah, that his work is very important. That could change the life of children and allow them to go back to their normal development. But also that it is a very complex task because you have to deal with cognitive aspect, with forensic information, but also with the relationship with the child. So you need to deal with a lot of information and processes at the same time. So I think you need to take time to reflect, to think, and to decide what is coming next. And most of the time, we feel in a hurry to go do the interview because the child will be tired. But if you are really attentive and take time to reflect and decide what you do next, you will do better intervention, and the child will feel more at ease to answer your question. So you will be able to do longer interviews. And I think the third thing that I would like to say is that take care of yourself. Be very attentive to your mental health. You don't want to develop a compassion fatigue because you are hearing difficult story all the time. So I think it's very important to work in a MDT, a multidisciplinary team, and not be afraid to say that I heard something difficult. I would like to talk about that with someone. And because I think with experience, you getting better, more at ease, but also you are more at risk to develop some psychological problem also. So I think to take care of ourselves is important, and then trying also to have self-review and peer review.
Yes.
That is another kind of support that will help to see that with this kid, you have done everything you can. And if it's not work, it's not your fault. So that's also help to have better strategy, but feeling that you have done what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Cyr, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and just informing the field of forensic interviewing. Also, we'll say that Dr. Cyr has published a book that came out in 2023. That information will be on the website. We encourage you to take what she has said with us today, but then to get her book because it has so much practical application for all of us as forensic interviewers. And just, again, our thanks to Dr. Cyr, and thank you for being here with us today. If you'd like more information, please check out calio.org. Also look at the NCAC Virtual Training Center for different webinars and seminars that have been recorded with experts in the field. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please email me at the link below. Thanks and have a great day.